I'm not somebody to make shapes out of cake. I don't know if you've seen the episode, anybody's seen the episode of Bluey where he has to make a duck cake. Like, that's me. Like, I will make that duck cake that looks like a duck has been run over by a 4x4. Like, that's my cake. Coming up, Jeni's Ice Cream New Fall Flavors, a new horrifying show about cakes, and the fall trends that are on their way out. That and everything else you need to know. Hi everyone, welcome back to Need to Know. I'm Gemma Stafford, professional chef, host of Bigger Bolder Baking and cookbook author, and I am here with my lovely co-hosts, Ami Shukla, who is my culinary director for Bigger Bolder Baking, and Tianna, who is an amateur baker. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm pretty good.
Sit back because I'm sitting weird here. There we go.
Comfy?
Comfy.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. I'm so excited to bring you both this week's Hot from the Oven. So I'm sure you both know of actor James McAvoy. He's been in tons of films. Well, he was recently on Live with Kelly and Mark promoting his new movie, Speak No Evil. And they talked about way back when he won the Great British Bake Off. Did either of you happen to see or tune into that?
No,
season?
I love the Great British Bake Off, but I only ever see it in the summertime when I go home to Ireland. I don't religiously watch it.
Yeah. Ami, have you seen it?
I have not seen that episode. I don't, even for something as gentle and wonderful as the British Bake Off, I find competitive cooking shows to be very stressful.
They are stressful, but his was so great. So he won, and he won with this beautiful design of this. I have it here. It's a Pina Colada snow leopard, which sounds amazing, and it looked beautiful. Like, it looked like a snow leopard, and Paul Hollywood was complimenting him so much. And so on this interview with Kelly and Mark, James McAvoy revealed that he actually trained for 3 years as a confectioner, and he confessed this like on the show to Paul Hollywood, but then they cut it out of the episode. So they didn't reveal that to the audience, and then he ended up winning.
Well, he said he had, so I saw the clip, and he said he had 3 years as a junior confectioner, which is a long time. Like, you learn a lot in a long time. So yeah, for sure they cut it out because they tipped the scales, and then he won.
Yeah.
I wonder, did they know it prior to that? But yeah, no, that's for sure what happened. Like, why would they want anybody to know that? It definitely was a bit of information that I didn't know about him. I saw the cake. It was, so I'm no one to point fingers because I am not a cake decorator. I have to say he did do a good job considering that he trained a long time ago. So like, I think he did a really good job. It looked sweet, and it was a good episode.
Yeah. I mean, for my amateur bakerness, I was like, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and I do think the British Bake Off, they must do their research. So they must know. Like, I think there is you can't have had any training within 10 years of being on the show or something.
Okay.
And you also can never have worked in a professional capacity.
That's right. You know what? I know a girl who I met her on a trip in Ireland, who is an amazing cake decorator. I mean, to the point of I think she actually made like a handbag for a Reese Witherspoon or a handbag from her collection of her clothesline. She has done other kind of cakes for celebrities. I recently saw her on Instagram make oyster shells. Like, it's insane what this girl does. But her dream was to go on Great British Bake Off. And one of the rules, you just reminded me, is that you can never be paid for, it's supposed to be a hobby, and you can never have been paid at any point for this hobby. Otherwise, it's a job. And that would eliminate you from being on the Great British Bake Off.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, it must have been sitting on his conscience because like years later he was like, the world needs to know that I did do this. I trained. But speaking of baking shows, there's actually a brand new baking competition show coming out. It's going to be a 2-part series on Prime Video coming out October 8th, and it's called Killer Cakes. Have either of you heard of this?
I have heard of it. It's not my genre of movies or shows or anything like that. It does intrigue me because and you guys can see the clip in the show notes of this show coming up, But because like I said, I'm not a cake decorator, how people make skulls and torsos and limbs and all of these things from cake and make it, and I've seen people do this. A girl worked with me at one point where she made like a heart out of a cake. Or she made a cake look like a heart.
Like a organ heart?
Yeah, like an organ.
Whoa.
That it's just it's so far beyond my skills as a pastry chef that it does fascinate me, but not enough to watch it.
For those who haven't heard, Killer Cakes is going to be a horror-themed baking show hosted by Matthew Lillard from Scream, Five Nights at Freddy's. However, I will forever know him as Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. And it's judged by Daniel Harris from the Halloween franchise and cookbook author and food artist Nick Alcaraz from Peculiar Baking. So it's a baking show that is combining the art of baking with horror. So I was reading they team up with FXX experts. So they're going to like combine their skills to make these really gory cake decorations.
I think it's a good idea.
My question is it with the intention of this is all made with edible ingredients, or will it also be cut into and eaten, and does it taste good? And do you want to eat it?
Right.
Like, do you want to cut into
jelly,
you know, a limb and eat it? Yeah. Like, is that a part of, do we know if that's a part of the...
It says that this is like the goal for to win is that contestants will work with the best horror special effects artists in Hollywood to unleash their twisted imaginations and create cakes so disgusting, so disturbing, and so realistic. It's the stuff of nightmares. So I think it does have to be fully edible, but I think it has to be like, what is the most horrific?
Sure.
Most of these shows you do have to be edible. Like when I was on Netflix, when I was on Nailed It, like they have to taste good. It has to be good cake. And then also on like on all the other shows, it's like it has to be like I was on Best Baker in America, and it was like your fondant had to be really good fondant, and your frosting was really important, and the type of cake that you made, all those kinds of things like factored into it. It wasn't just the overall look of the cake.
It's funny a visual appeal is so important. A couple of years ago, I was at a Halloween party and I made these witches' fingers out of shortbread. And they were just like little, fingers of shortbread that looked like broken off witches' fingers. And the nail was like, I put some jam on a blanched almond. So it kind of looked like these bloody nails. They were gross. They looked really awful, and they tasted delicious, as it was just a really simple buttery shortbread, but nobody ate them. There were just a few got eaten, but none of the kids would touch them. They were like, ew.
That's so funny.
So it had the desired effect of being creepy, but to the point where nobody would eat them.
If you were on this show, what would be your go-to horror design?
I would probably start with a base that I could achieve, like a cake that looked like a cauldron, because that's a shape that's stable.
Oh, that's good.
And then maybe I would put more witches' fingers in them or something, and or something that I think a lot of things that you have to start to deal with when you're dealing with shape cakes is gravity. So if you're doing an organ heart, for example, and the bottom is smaller than the top, how are you going to put it on the cake stand so that it doesn't fall over? And that's a real thing. Cakes can get really heavy, especially as you start to put fondant and different layers and decorations on them.
Yeah. I think I would try and do something like a brain or something. I think I would personally have more success with that, especially because you can add on gooey stuff and edible fake blood, and you could do shimmers and little I could paint it with food dye, and I think it might not look great, but with all those added things, I think I could make it look better. I'm not somebody to make shapes out of cake. I don't know if you've seen anybody's seen the episode of Bluey where he has to make a duck cake. That's me. Like I will make that duck cake that looks like a duck has been run over by a 4x4. Like that's my cake.
But that would work for Killer Cakes, like the gore.
It would. Actually, maybe that's my idea.
Yeah.
Gemma's going to start a new series called Roadkill Cakes.
Well, Killer Cakes, if you do a second season, give us a call at Well, on a less spooky note, Jeni's Splendid ice cream has come out with 4 brand new fall flavors. And the reason I wanted to talk about it is because on their website, they say they really wanted to take overlooked flavors and bring them into their new ice creams. And so I wanted to read you the 4 new ones because I think they're really interesting. So the first one they have is they're substituting out pumpkin spice and they're using pumpkin seed instead. So the first flavor is pumpkin seed and rye cookie. The next one is miso butterscotch brownie.
Oh, that sounds like right up your alley.
That is 100%.
Something traditional, but then also a little bit obscure.
Yeah.
I know everybody does it, but I love miso paste and things. It's so good.
The next one, they want to switch out vanilla for bay leaf. So they have created bay leaf cheesecake.
Oh, interesting.
I'm a big cheesecake person.
I'm a big ice cream cheesecake person. But a bay leaf, that's really, I never would have thought of that.
Well, you know, what's interesting about bay leaves is it's always the sort of thing you put in a big pot of stew.
Right.
You know, you don't, but no, I don't know how many people, including myself, know exactly what it tastes like. Like, I think it has an almost cinnamony taste, you know, but it's, you know, what is the exact flavor of bay?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think, you know, maybe we'll find out.
Yeah. And then the 4th newest flavor is sweet potato marshmallow praline.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes, all those things.
that sounds
yes.
like that's like a dish at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I wouldn't eat that as a side dish. You know, the way they have the side dish with sweet potatoes and marshmallows and stuff. I wouldn't eat that, but I would eat that. I would eat a sweet potato ice cream with all of those things involved for sure.
And then this one's not new, but it is a part of their fall collection, but it's just a fan favorite, and it's brown butter almond brittle. So that one they brought back because they say on their website it gives serious autumn vibes, which I think it does. That is all I have from Hot from the Oven, but stick around because we're actually going to be trying all 4 of these new Jeni's ice cream flavors at the end of today's episode.
fantastic.
I know, I'm excited.
That's so
we might
great.
have to fight over
That's
the
my
sweet
incentive
potato
to stay
one.
here.
I'm going to be curious about like what is the flavor of rye and pumpkin seed.
Yeah.
I only
can't
know
even
rye. I
understand.
don't even know rye as a cookie. I know rye as a bread.
Or a flour, but yeah, nutty. Maybe nutty.
Nutty. I think a bay leaf is kind of woody. We're going to find out. I'm excited.
You're going to find out. I know, I'm excited. And what I love so much about this topic is that Jeni's talks about overlooked flavors, which perfectly takes us into the mix because I want to talk about fall flavors, just fall flavors. But first, I want to play a game. So, I made my very first official need to know game cue card. Very official. Thank you.
You can tell that wasn't printed off our printer because it's not all faded and has lines through it.
Canva can do
That
wonders.
was like professionally done.
Thank you so much. You know, as my backup plan in life, make cue cards. So there was a recent article on Better Homes and Gardens where they interviewed several different bakers about what fall trends are in and what fall trends are out. And a lot of them had to relate to specific desserts. So the trend or the type of trend or the dessert. So I thought we could play a game. I'm going to ask you one at a time and you'll tell me in or out.
Okay.
But I think it should be a competition
Oh, I love competition.
between the two of you. And then I'm saying it here. Whoever wins gets to take home all the leftover Jeni's ice cream. Okay. Are you ready? Are these trends / desserts in or out? American pudding, like a creamy Jell-O pudding.
I'm going to say in because a pudding and a mousse and that kind of family is my favorite kind of dessert.
I'm going to say in because it's simple, easy to make.
Classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is correct. Pudding is in. All right. Number 2, trifles.
Oh, I'm going to say absolutely in because they were so popular in the like 70s and 80s, and they're definitely having, I wouldn't even say a moment, but they definitely had a resurgence a good few years ago online, and people have really gone crazy with the combinations and everything. Like we have some really nice ones on our website. I'm going to say absolutely in. I'm all about a trifle.
I'm going to say in too. Going on with the pudding theme, you can use your pudding in the trifle.
Yeah, that's true. You get all the different textures. I'm all about a trifle.
You are both correct.
Yay!
Trifles are in. All right. Moving on. Pumpkin spice.
I'm going to say that's in for for desserts, for drinks. I don't see that. It's a staple. I'm going to say in.
You know, I'm sure I'm wrong, but out of principle, I'm going to say out just because I don't like pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice is out. It's out. According to this article, it is out. So for those keeping score at home, I think Ami's in the lead. Okay, moving on. Croissants.
Oh, in.
Always.
Yeah.
I don't even have to explain my answer.
Yeah, croissants are in. They'll never go away.
Yeah.
6-layer cake.
Out.
It is out.
Yeah. This sounds kind of boring.
You're both very good at this.
I don't know. I made a 6-layer cake for someone's birthday, and then I took a bite of it, and I was like, I'm sick of cake.
But it's just cake and frosting. Cake and frosting. With the trifle, you get pudding, you get
all the things.
you get fruit, you get a layer of whipped cream, which I put a layer of whipped cream in my trifle. I put all the things. No, go away.
Good.
With the cake.
Dense cheesecake.
I'm gonna say in. Yeah, I love a cheesecake.
Wait, what about the whole like souffle cheesecake and the cotton?
Yeah, the Japanese style cheesecake.
I'm gonna still say, you know what? I'm gonna just vote my heart and say dense cheesecake because it's always my favorite.
I'm gonna vote my stomach and say that dense cheesecake because I love, when you're like, I really deserve a dessert. I'm gonna get a slice of cheesecake, and then you almost get like heart palpitations halfway through. That's how you know it's a good dessert.
Yeah,
That's what cheesecake does
I'm always
to me.
sad when I eat a fluffy cheesecake. I want a dense one.
It's like when you get a donut, like a yeasted donut, and you just a few bites and they're gone. But when you get a cake donut, they're like there's more to bite into, more to chew on. What's the answer?
Dense cheesecakes are out.
No! Well, we know what our answer is.
They're not out for us. I need to know.
Not here. They're not.
Okay, muffins.
Out.
Yeah, well, yes, I'm going to say out too.
Muffins are in.
Why?
It was this whole idea of like simple, like getting back to the basics of baking. And that's kind of with the 6-layer cake and the dense cheesecake. It was getting away from like overdoing it in ingredients and extravagance. Okay, I only have 2 more for you. Sweet and savory duos. Example was a sausage and maple syrup croissant.
No, not for me. Thank you.
I think that's always in. It's so good.
It is in. We're going to see a lot of savory and sweet duos in the next year. And now this last one, and I know I put this one, when I saw this one on there, I was like, oh, we have to do this because I know that you love these. Pavlovas.
Oh, in. My favorite dessert in the world. Mommy, say in. Say in.
I mean, I know it's so simple, but I'm going to say out.
Oh.
Starting bites here at Need to Know. Pavlovas are in.
Yes, they are.
Yes, I know.
They'll always
but you know
be
what?
in. The most delicious dessert in the world.
Well, I lost track of who was in the lead, but we'll figure it out later. And whoever won that, I think it might have been Ami with her guesses.
Ami got a few more right.
So you can take home an extra Jeni's ice cream. Congratulations. What I loved about that article and that game was that it mentions that pumpkin spice is on its way out, even though it is everywhere this time of year. So it got me thinking, if pumpkin spice doesn't really do it for you, what are other flavors that you can use in your baking to really celebrate the fall season?
That's a really good question. I think I tend to have tunnel vision around flavors where I can't seem to think outside my own head. And this is where Ami has been really great on the team, because Ami will come in and say, and she has done, let's make a miso apple tart. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And a variety of different flavored desserts. But there are so many, like we forget that pear is a great fall flavor. Like I never think about pears. And there's also things like quince. Quince is a lovely fruit, and then it also can make into a really nice jelly for cheese boards, which I often do have around the holiday season. And there's things like I use a little bit, but not a ton, but really is, it's around for not a really long season, but things like cranberries. Even though they can be very tart, I use them in baking. Ami, you make a nice cranberry tart, don't you? Is that with blueberries?
Yeah, cranberry blueberry pie. It's so good.
And then also I make cranberry sangria, which is, have you had that before?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's
so
and
good.
it's beautiful. Cranberries are gorgeous. You know, they have this, they add a visual appeal. But I think there's also, like, in the trend towards simplicity, there's also singular flavors, like instead of pumpkin spice, just cinnamon or just nutmeg, or really enhancing vanilla in something. So if you've got some stewed figs with some vanilla bean, you don't need much, and you get back to this cozy simplicity. Browned butter.
Brown butter is a good one because you get that nuttiness.
Yeah, and nuts even, just like that, those kinds of. Yeah.
I agree with Ami, the way that kind of like pecans have that like nutty, caramelly, maple kind of almost chicory kind of flavor. Like that's a great one for the fall. And then also, you know, pairing cranberries with a little bit of orange zest. That's also another great fall flavor. Yeah.
Yeah, a little brightness. I think there's, I think the thing with pumpkin spices, it's just everywhere. And that's the problem. It's just overdone.
And it's also very dominating. So when you have it in something, you're like, this is a pumpkin spice whatever,
Right.
rather than this is a little bit of a certain flavor to enhance all the other ingredients.
Right. I think the argument for it is it signifies a certain time of year for a lot of people. So there's an emotional. I think my problem with this is it starts in August.
Yeah.
You know, like wait until it's cold. Wait until October. Just wait. But you know that is the trend.
Have you had a pumpkin spice latte before?
Probably. I'm sure my daughter has forced me to take a sip of
I've
hers.
never had one. Have you had one?
I've never had a pumpkin spice latte, but I have tried the pumpkin cold foam at Starbucks. So on you can get a cold brew at Starbucks, and then they have like pumpkin flavored cold foam on top. And because I'm not a big sweet coffee drinker. Like I drink my coffee black. And so to me, pumpkin flavored beverages are just, it's hard for me because it's like a natural sweetness, I think. But I do love pumpkin like pie. I love pumpkin food, like pumpkin pies and pumpkin bread, and like I get on board with those. I do have the Trader Joe, like you can buy like pumpkin spice pre-made seasoning blend at Trader Joe's.
Oh, okay.
And I do have that, and I'll sometimes put that like in my oatmeal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just easy and just like a little dash, but not too much. I don't want it to
a
taste
short
like
season I think is good, like a little bit.
yeah, just a little bit. What do you feel, or what are your thoughts on using sage this time of year? That was on our
That's a great one.
trend list.
I will tell, like my mom makes a fantastic, number one, I love sage. It's such a lovely herb, isn't it? And it complements like meat, like vegetables, potatoes, like really well. My mom makes a fantastic sage and onion stuffing, which is pretty much, it's not a stuffing, you guys. I was telling somebody about it recently and they were like, Gemma, that's mashed potato that she shoved into a turkey. So it actually is. It's sage and onions cooked in a whole pile of butter and then mashed with mashed potato and then shoved in a turkey. It's so good. And that's what we have at Christmas time, every Christmas. And so that does remind me of the holiday season.
Yeah.
And you can also put sage in squashes as squashes you get a squash harvest, butternut squash, roasted,
Soups.
anything. You've got like brown butter, throw some sage in there. It toasts
best.
up and then pour it over.
Yeah, and then you get to eat the leaves because they're crispy.
Yeah.
So good.
Pumpkin spice is out. Sage and brown butter are in.
Yeah.
That sounds so good.
Way better.
So cozy.
Well, one of my favorite things about Need to Know Pod and the Bold Baking Network is that besides the two of you, we also have a whole team of professional bakers and chefs and experts in the industry. So we're actually going to hear from some of them now and get their thoughts on fall flavors.
Hey Gemma, I need to know. I'm Aya from Pastry Living. In Japan, the most popular fall flavors for baking are chestnut, sweet potato, apple, pumpkin, and persimmon. It's also matcha season, so I see more matcha desserts paired with those vegetables and fruits in the fall. The most popular Japanese fall desserts, I think, are Mont Blanc, which is a classic French dessert, and apple pie, which is my favorite, and baked sweet potato filling. Mont Blanc is actually one of the most popular desserts in Japan, but it's something I haven't found yet in the States. And I know pumpkin spice flavor is huge in the States. I love it too. In Japan though, the most popular pumpkin desserts are, I would say, baked pumpkin pudding and pumpkin Mont Blanc. By the way, Japanese pumpkin is called kabocha, and it has a green skin, and the cooked texture is firmer than American pumpkin. So I hope you give it a try if you ever visit Japan. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you soon.
And we're back, and we're on to our next segment, which is one of my favorites, and that is the Bold Baking Hotline, where we get questions from our audience and you two answer them right here. So our first question is from Sandy R on Facebook, and she asks, can you add pumpkin spice to anything, specifically scones, to get a pumpkin spiced scone?
You can.
Sure, absolutely. That sounds like it's probably delicious.
In anywhere you would, number one, even if there's not a spice in your recipe, you can add a little bit of spice. Just like what Ami and I were saying, was less is more. But feel free, if you have a lovely scone recipe that's a plain scone that you like, add in a little bit of pumpkin pie spice. Like, that's totally fine. And that little bit of addition is not going to, is going to alter your recipe in any way. That's lovely. And you know what, rice pudding, like if you want to add a little bit into rice pudding or something, like it's very versatile.
Yeah, and if somebody wants to do something like, for example, rice pudding or scones, along with pumpkin spice, you can add a little pumpkin puree to it. Like, so if you're doing a scone, especially if it's like a yogurt based or a sour cream based scone, you can replace some of that yogurt or sour cream with some pumpkin puree, and you'll get that color, which again, because visuals are so important, you're going to get it. It's going to evoke that flavor of pumpkin along with the actual flavor of pumpkin.
Yeah, have you ever made my pumpkin? Have you had my pumpkin pancakes?
I've had them. I haven't made them, but I've had them.
Yeah, they're really yum. Those are the kind of things I like, that because it gets George a little bit of extra pumpkin into his diet, or like a vegetable into his diet. But those are lovely. Yeah, like absolutely. Get creative.
Great. Joyce T from Facebook asks, can you use chunky applesauce in place of peeling and cooking apples in a recipe like apple pie?
Okay,
I could answer this one.
I'm going to say no. That's my answer.
Well, the problem is that chunky applesauce is very liquidy. So if you're going to do a two-crust traditional apple pie, you're going to have a lot of liquid in the bottom crust, and you're going to have a soggy crust. And then the apples are cooked down so much with a chunky applesauce that it's going to break down even further by the time your crust even cooks. So you're going to end up with no chunks in the applesauce. It's sort of pointless, and it won't be thick. However, if you want to use applesauce in a pie, there's a really old-fashioned recipe for an apple custard that uses applesauce. So you make a pie crust, and then you mix up applesauce with eggs and flour, maybe some sugar or maple syrup. You whip that up, you pour it into your pie crust and bake it like a custard pie. And it will be appley. It'll have a really nice apple taste. It has a little bit of a texture from the fiber in the apples, so it's interesting, but it's an interesting thing to explore. The other thing that I don't know as much about, but if I had chunky applesauce and I wanted to use it in a pie, I might do something called a pandowdy, which is something that we've done on the website, which has no bottom crust, but it just has a top crust.
That's a good point, Ami.
Yeah.
Is if you're not doing, if it's more of a something you can scoop into,
right, or a crumble. If you wanted to put a crumble topping and then let that cook up, you may still have issues with the crumble topping or the pie crust sinking into the apple pie. So I think that would take some exploration. But you could look up, there's recipes online for an old-fashioned applesauce pie. It's open-faced, and one of the reasons why you want it to be open-faced and not too crust is because you want some of that liquid to evaporate.
Can I also say that with my berry cobblers, berry pies, something that's something that doesn't have a lot of pectin in itself, but can release a lot of juices. I always add in a little bit of, if I had applesauce, I would stir a little bit of applesauce in to thicken it, or I'd grate in apple. So you can combine applesauce with something else, which will work better. But I think Ami's idea of more of a scoopable, crisper cobbler is a better way to use something. I will say, you know, the best results, Granny Smith apples. Buy yourself some Granny Smith apples and use those, and you'll get a chunky texture. They'll cook down appropriately, and I think you'll get really the result that you're supposed to get from the recipe you're following.
Well, thank you both so much for answering those questions. And if you ever have any questions for us here and you want us to answer them during the Bold Baking Hotline, you can leave a comment on YouTube or on our social medias at Need to Know Pod. Well, earlier I mentioned that we were going to maybe be trying some of those Jeni's fall flavors. And now is the time to do so. Are you ready to try some Jeni's Splendid ice cream?
Of course I'm ready.
I was born ready.
Okay, Kevin's going to go grab them for us.
Great.
Okay, so here's my plan. Everybody gets a flavor each, and then you can give me your 2 cents worth. I'm going to give you, Tianna, the miso. I'm going to have the sweet potato and marshmallow praline. Ami, you want to do the, was that pumpkin?
Pumpkin seed rye.
Lovely. And then I'm also going to taste the bay leaf cheesecake.
Okay. All right. Oh, look, it's green.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, because pumpkin seeds. I was thinking of pumpkin. So I expected.
Miso, butterscotch,
So yummy.
brownie.
Do I get
Sweet
this?
potato,
Do I get this whole
marshmallow
tub?
I want to take a delicate bite here.
I've already taken like 3 bites since you guys have been talking. It's really good. This is really good. You do not have to be a sweet potato pie fan. Sweet potato, yummy. And it also has like little streaks of marshmallow. This is a 10 out of 10.
Oh my gosh.
This is subtle for Jeni's. You know, Jeni's is often, one of the things I love about it is it's very flavor forward.
This, you can taste the miso, and it's adding like this saltiness with the brownie and the softness of the ice cream. It's so good.
Yeah.
The thing about Jeni's is that it's really smooth, creamy ice cream. Like, it's good quality ice cream. Some of the best in LA. This is interesting, you guys. The bay leaf cheesecake. The bay leaf, I know what you were saying, Ami, tastes a bit like cinnamon.
Yeah.
It
does.
tastes spiced.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't taste like, when I use bay leaf for chicken stock.
Well, you know, the reason why I even know what a bay leaf tastes like is once I stuck some bay leaves under the skin of a chicken that I was roasting. And that was I just like salt and pepper and bay leaf. And then it had this sort of cinnamony taste. And I thought, oh, that's what a bay leaf tastes like. I think this is good. It's nutty, but not quite like a pistachio nutty. It's subtle. It's a subtle flavor.
Do you want to try miso butterscotch brownie, Ami?
Yes, I do. All right, here.
The bay leaf, try the bay leaf, you guys. It tastes like spiced cheesecake ice cream.
Okay. Miso butterscotch brownie is delicious.
Pumpkin seed and rye cookie does have it's reminiscent of pistachio ice cream, which I love.
Miso butterscotch brownie is very savory for an ice cream in a really good way. Like I wouldn't, they've gone right to the edge of what you can do. It's really perfect.
And that's what she does. She really she pushes the boundaries with the flavors. Remember, Jeni's did a everything bagel ice cream, which is definitely salty and sweet.
Oh, I never tried that. Okay, if you like pumpkin spice, you're gonna love the sweet potato marshmallow praline because it feels, not that it has pumpkin spice in it, but it's very reminiscent of that, of why one would like that.
Miso butterscotch brownie. You can taste the miso. It's not a subtle flavor. Brownie's yum. Yeah, yum. I can get on board with that.
Okay.
Interesting.
Bay leaf cheesecake wins for me.
Really?
Really?
Yes, wins.
I'm kind of really loving this pumpkin seed and rye.
That's grand because I'm going to have the sweet potato one and you guys can enjoy yours. That's it.
I have the wrong lid.
Thank you, ladies. That was a fun taste test.
Go to Jeni's. and
Thank
get
you,
the Bay
Jeni's
Leaf
ice
cheesecake
cream.
Bay leaf
Go
cheesecake.
check out these fall flavors.
Yum.
Well, thank you so much for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, rate, and review us anywhere you listen to podcasts. And of course, you can always catch every episode of Need to Know on YouTube.
From HRN and the Bold Baking Network, you are watching the Need to Know Baking Entertainment podcast.